Now, talk about the Red Badge of Courage. Is a war novel by American author Stephen Crane, taking place during the American Civil War. The story is about a young private of the Union Army, Henry Fleming, who flees from the field of battle. Overcome with shame, he longs for a wound, a red badge of courage to counteract his cowardice. When his regiment once again faced the enemy, Henry acts as flag bearer, carrying the regimental colors. Although Crane was born after the war and had not at the time experienced battle for first hand, the novel is known for its realism and naturalism. He began writing what would become his second novel in 1894, using various contemporary and written accounts such as those published previously by Century magazine as inspiration. It is believed that he based the fictional battle on that the Chancellor's Vale. He may also have interviewed veterans of the 124th New York Volunteer Infantry Regiment, commonly known as the Orange Blossom, initially shortened and serialized in newspapers. In December 1894, the novel was published in full in October 1895. A longer version of the work based on Crane's original manuscript was published in 1982. The novel is known for its distinctive style, which includes realistic battle sequences as well as the repeated use of color imagery and ironic tone, separating itself from a traditional war narrative. Crane's story reflects the inner experience of its protagonist, a soldier fleeing from combat rather than the external world around him. Also notable for its use of what Crane called a psychological portrayal of fear. The novel's allegorical and symbolic qualities are often debated by critics. Several of the themes that the story explores are maturation, heroism, cowardice, and the indifference of nature. The Red Badge of Courage garnered widespread acclaim, what A.G. Wells called an orgy of praise shortly after its publication, making Crane an instant celebrity at the age of 24. The novel and its author did have their initial directors, however, other including author and veteran Ambrose Bierce adapted several times for the screen. The novels became a bestseller, never out of print. It is Crane's most important work and a major American text. Now the plot summary is the on a cold day, the fictional 304th New York Infantry Regiment awaits battle beside a river. Teenage Private Henry Fleming, remembering his romantic reasons for enlisting as well as his mother's resulting protest, wonders whether he will remain brave in the face to fear or turn and run back. He is comforted by one of his friends from home, Jim Conklin, who admits that he would run from battle if his fellow soldiers also fled. During the regiment's first battle, Confederate soldiers charge but are repelled. The enemy quickly regroups and attacks again, this time forcing some of the unprepared Union soldiers to flee. Fearing the battle is a lost cause, Henry deserts his regiment. It is not until after he reaches the rear of the army that he overhears the general announcing the Union's victory. Ashamed, Henry escapes into a nearby forest where he discovers a decaying body in a peaceful clearing. In his distress, he hurriedly leaves the clearing and stumbles upon a group of injured men returning from battle. One member of the group, a tattered soldier, asks Henry where he is wounded, but the youth dodges the question. Among the group is Jim Conklin, who has been shot in the side and is suffering in delirium from blood loss. Jim eventually dies of his injury, definitely resisting aid from his friends, and enraged and helpless, Henry runs from the wounded soldiers. He next comes upon a retreating column that is in disarray. In the panic, a man hits Henry on the head with his rifle, wounding him. Exhausted, hungry, thirsty, and now wounded, Henry decides to return to his regiment regardless of his shame. When he arrives at camp, the other soldiers believe his injury resulting from a gazing bullet during battle. The other men care of the youth, dressing his wounded. The next morning, Henry goes into battle for the third time. His regiment encounters a small group of Confederates, and in the ensuing fight, Henry proves to be a capable soldier, comforted by the belief that his previous cowardice had not been noticed, as he had performed his mistake in the dark. So he was still a man. Afterward, while looking for a stream from which to obtain water with a friend, he discovers from the commanding officer that his regiment has a lackluster reputation. The officer speaks casually about sacrificing the 304th because they are nothing more than drivers and mud diggers with no other regiments to spare. The general orders his men forward. In the final battle, Henry acts as the flag bearer after the color sergeant falls. A line of Confederates hidden behind a fence beyond a clearing shoots with impunity at Henry's regiment, which is ill covered in the tree line, facing weather, fire if they stay, and disgrace if they retreat. The officer orders a charge. Unarmed, Henry leads the men while entirely escaping injury. Most of the Confederates run before the regiment arrives, and four of the remaining men are taken prisoners. So that's all about the story of the Red Badge of Courage.